With all of the choices we have today for knockoffs of the Takara versions of Masterpiece Transformers, it's a wonder that anybody still buys the official Takara Masterpiece Transformers. And if you watch my channel, you know that I have no problem with KO. In fact, I still have several figures in my collection that are KOs. They are not official. I waited for the KO. But today I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking to you about my 5 reasons why I am buying official. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy a couple extras as the KOs come out. But right now, I am buying officials. I've been doing it, even though I didn't do it in the past. Let's get right into this. Before we get into my top 5 list of why I'm buying Takara, inevitably when you speak in the positive side of things, then there's always going to be the comments of the negative come out. So let me go ahead and get the negative out of the way before we start talking about the positives, and I'm going to get into this. The negative is price. Everybody knows this. Everybody's talked about this. It has gone up. The Takara Masterpiece prices are way too high. They've gone too high, and I hear this debate every day, and I'm like, well, why not just order them from Amazon Japan like I do? I understand a lot of people are a little afraid to. They just don't want to order from Amazon Japan. They've never done it before, and they feel there's going to be some sort of an error or a mistake. They won't get their money, and then the language barrier, which, hey, I haven't had any problems with it, so there's that piece. The other thing I want to talk about, people talk about the QC issues with Takara, and we talk about stuff like the knee braking, which mine hasn't broke yet on my MP44, and I use it feels like every day, and mine has not failed. So I start to think that they make these running changes, cracking plastic. It seems like they made running changes in even that Megatron figure that had that problem. They have a lack of die cast, and well, the complaint was a lack of paint, but MP44 is showing they know how to paint a figure. So with the negative out of the way, let's get into my top 5. So number 1 reason I have pre-ordered, I'm on board with buying the official Takara, is because I'm going to have it early. I'm going to have it first. Now, I've talked about this point a lot in the past, and the reality of it is I'm going to have this figure and be able to enjoy it, compare it, maybe even if I decide to sell off other versions of my figures that I'm getting. But see, I have it, and having it first, and I feel like I missed out on a lot. I did miss out on a lot. When I was waiting for the MP36, I lied to myself and told myself that my other version, the Apollyon, was just as good. This isn't worth it. But you know what? $250 was a lot of money back then. Now we're looking at even more. I understand that, but I missed out on a lot. When I got my KO, I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is really a good figure. I've been missing out. So it's kind of fun and enjoyable, but then it's at the cost. Like, you have to weigh for yourself. Do I want to get the official and be part of this 10 months to 2 years of waiting if you wait for a KO, if it even gets made? Now, some figures are replacement items. I understand that, but I still am excited about this Bumblebee that's coming up, and I can't wait to get my hands on it, see what I can do with it. And obviously, from what I've seen so far, you're not really going to be able to clean up them feet any. The next reason, so number 2, is box art. I like box art. I keep all my boxes, and I like to display my boxes, and I really enjoy having original box art. And I really didn't bother me because all the KOs I was buying in the past had exact replica box art of Takara, or there would be a Takasa Tomy or some Tony or whatever that was. But the thing is now the KO companies are getting around the laws by modifying a few things and using the brown box special. So this brown box special is kind of one way around it. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, no, the KO companies are just trying to be cheap now. But the reality of it is the KO companies have been trying to exactly match Takara all along and all of this time. And then now they've changed that simply because, well, Hasbro has put the smackdown on the KO companies. They've won multiple suits in China, and there's been arrests. There has been thousands of figures destroyed. So hey, they're a little bit nervous, but hey, I think they figured out a way around it. This brown box special is one of many things that they figured out to get around the laws. And yeah, they're very, very loose over there, that we couldn't get away with this in the US. I do love having the packaging, and that's one thing that now having the official over a KO. It seems like we are going to see that. Now, we're going to also see if that holds true with the next version. These KO Megatrons that are coming out, that should be out, it says it could be at the end of November, possibly through to the end of December before we get that. So I'm actually kind of excited about this thing, and we'll see if we still get a brown box special with the Beast Wars Mega. But I don't expect an actual KO of MP44 until sometime next July at the earliest. So the next point is you get that new engineering. But one thing that you have to admit, if you are one that likes to flip them back and forth a lot, I bet that everyone that flips them back and forth really likes to see when something is done different, better, or whatever. Now, looking at this quote-unquote masterpiece moment that we had with Inferno, where they tucked his whole ladder all inside of his chest, that is amazing, and that is impressive. Now, I think the shoulders were really strange the way they did it, but hey, it works. MP44 had some of those moments where we could see that the sides of the cab folded into the legs so that the overall proportions of the upper body would be shrunk down even more and give it that hero or heroic shape. And guess what? It worked. And that's something that, who would have thought of that? Well, Takara did. And with Hound coming up and the wheels fold into the leg for one of the cleanest looking legs that we've seen on a Hound, and that is a beautiful looking figure. Transforming that is going to have a handful, or at least one, masterpiece moment. And I know a lot of people can say, yeah, well, that's still not worth the $160. Well, I don't know who's paying $160. I'm getting them for $120 through Amazon Japan. But the engineering behind this figure is going to be impressive. And I get to be part of it now and not late 2020 or early 2021. The next point I want to talk about is getting into the resale value. And now this is where it kind of gets to be a touchy kind of place. When you look at reselling your figures, say, you know what, I've got my MP44, I've enjoyed it for a while, I decide I want to go ahead and sell it for whatever reason. Would I get more for this than I would for a KO version? Now, therein lies an issue, because I've watched in both groups and on eBay and all around, and it seems like used KO figures do not sell for much. In fact, sell for even far below what was paid for them. And I find that to be interesting, but then again, not really surprising because of the flood of product and KO products. So basically, when I buy knockoffs, I buy them for myself. I don't buy them for resale. I enjoy them. I enjoy having multiple versions so that I can do multiple scenes. But in the end, what if I decide I want to just go down to one of each figure? Well, guess what? I might even take a hit. It seems like people that are buying used KOs expect them half or even a third of what they could get a brand new KO for. And I could kind of understand that. You've got a figure that has been manipulated. So why would you not just buy the new one if people are asking the same price as new ones? But the other thing is, some KOs, since there are multiple different companies, have shoddy type of manufacturing, and you really don't know which one you're going to end up with sometimes. So having a used one actually does kind of make sense, because the seller could tell you if anything's broken on it. But that also sort of goes right in line with, there are a lot of people who only buy official Masterpiece anyway. And my last point on why I'm buying official is because if we don't support Takara, they may stop making figures. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, who cares if Takara keeps making figures? Takara is one of the best in the game. Well, they are the beginning of the game. A lot of people talk about how Fans Toys exceeds Takara. And I think Fans Toys exceeds Takara in many ways. But the one way they don't exceed them is the transformation process. Even MP44 has a lot of steps, and you could possibly get lost in it, but it's actually a relatively intuitive transformation once you've done it once or twice, and it's not really that bad after you have done it and gotten used to it. But the reality of it is, you could say that with a Fans Toys transformation, but there are some aspects of some of the Fans Toys transformations that are scary. And you could probably say that about a Takara 1 or 2, but the majority of the Takara ones are really pretty simple, and I don't feel like I'm going to break anything, even on my KO versions. Just the way it's designed and the way it goes and the fluidity, the smoothness, it seems pretty good. So if your stance is still to wait for the KO, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Wait for the KO. I'm supporting Takara. I like having the figures early. I like being part of this buzz when it's hot and not when it's not. And I am excited for a mixture of new figures coming from Takara, from Fans Toys, from X-Transbots, from MMC. All of those coming in. All of those make me excited. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and Tiberium Hanger out.